This conference will now be recorded.
Hello. Hello. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay. This makes more sense. So what's the time now? 6:30. Is it started?
Yes, it's about
What is the time?
6:45.
6:45.
6:45.
Okay. How many people? Take it. So can I see who are other people there? How many people? So I mean we can start the webinar now, I guess.
Yes, yes.
So you get let me know when you say live and post which I can just start. And you can give the introduction. Tanmay?
Huh.
Yeah, so you can give the introduction. You say live, give the introduction. I welcome to the first webinar of Eduloans,
Yeah.
and then hereby presenting this, and then I take over. Okay.
I see that there are a few students. Yeah, I see that there are a few students who have logged on to the session. Welcome to the first in the series of the Eduloans webinar sessions, where you'd be finding out about and understanding the intricacies of the loan options that would be available to you and how to choose the best option based on your financial profile. Today, for the first session, our director, Mr. Banit Sahani, would be presenting the most basic facets of educational loans and what sort of criterias are the financial institutions looking out for when providing an educational loan, and how those criterias would suit in the spectrum of choices that you have when selecting. So I'd like to hand it over to our director, Mr. Banit, for the remainder of the session.
Thanks, Tanmay. Welcome aboard. And I know this is a stressful time wherein most of you would have had some sort of admits or are looking to plan to various countries, and July, August being the season for all countries wherein most students look to go abroad. And the critical barrier of is obviously the finances involved during the session. So in this particular case, in this particular series, we would like to understand how your course and your university and the country where you go in affect, or or what are the small nuisances involved in the education loan space. Okay, so the first thing at discussion would be how does the university and course affect your loan proceeds? Now, and the point is simple. In terms of, say, what the first question which comes to mind is how do you categorize, or how does the banking sector view the universities? So the first thing they look at is the broad classification, and this is relevant to all, is similar for all countries. So if you're going to say Australia, or if you're going to say the US, or you're going to say Canada, these are broad classifications which exist in all the countries. So the first is obviously the doctoral universities or research-based universities. So these are universities which are well established, mostly either public or private, and they do have a lot of emphasis on research. They're very highly ranked, so you have a QS ranking system, or you have US News, or you have the G8s in Australia, or you have in Germany they are called the TUs. So these universities are very highly ranked, and all banking or all the financial institutions are well aware about this university. The second are the universities which offer programs but which are not research based, wherein they are more academically oriented. So these could be something like the applied sciences programs in Germany, could be certain schools and universities maybe city universities in the US, which are more focused on delivering the latest trends and technologies to the students rather than culminating research. That's the second level of universities which come in. The difference between the core structure of these universities is that the first university gives you a thesis module, whereas the second university gives you a plain teaching perspective. The third type of colleges are community colleges. These are colleges which are public, which could be public or private, and they offer postgraduate or undergraduate diplomas. So they're not degree-seeking colleges. So you have to be a bit careful on this when you look at the banks. Do not look at this as a very great perspective. And usually, if you're going to a community college or a colleges, for example, in Canada, you have to be careful, and the banks are actually a bit wary about the outcome of these. The other colleges, the other two types of colleges exist. The undergraduate programs, which they offer only people at the undergraduate level and do not offer any master's programs. And there are certain colleges which offer only diploma programs as only at the undergraduate level. In terms of broad universities, most of them are public, private, not-for-profit, or for-profit. This is not so impactful in the decision-making process in the banks, but the initial 5 broad classifications are taken into consideration during deciding these universities or deciding what kind of loans you get from various banking channels. The second aspect is to look at the country and the course. So once you are looking at the universities, you should also be looking at what kind of country and course. Now, a very basic idea of it is that most of the financial institutions are relying on your ability to pay after the course, which means that if you're supposed spending in dollars, which could be Canadian, Australian, or even in euros or US dollars, they are looking for you to get a job which is in dollars and hence pay out the amount in about 2 to 3 years. This slide gives you a course-focused kind of an approach. So broad classification, it is highly out of purview of this webinar to have a situation wherein I can discuss course by course, but I can give you a broad classification of the context which is used, which is STEM and non-STEM. STEM programs are basically science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They are programs which attract higher stayback options vis-a-vis non-STEM programs, which could be business, law, arts, or maybe social sciences, etc. Now, if you look at the countries, for example, the US has a 3-year stayback for the STEM program, and for non-STEM, it's 1 year. Canada has a program which based on the years of study during the time. So, for example, if you're going for a 2-year program, it's a 3-year stayback. If you're going from 1-year program, it could be a 1 or 2-year stayback. Australia, similar. If you're going for a 1-year PG diploma program, it's a 1-year stayback. If you're going for a 2 years master's, it's a 2-year program. New Zealand follows similar pattern. UK categorizes the stayback as a public university or a private university or a college. So it depends on these factors. Germany itself again has a 1 or 2 year stayback depending on the courses that you choose. Singapore has a 1-year stayback, and private colleges do not have a stayback. Now, how does it affect your loan or decision making from the bank's perspective? In case there is no stayback or there is less chances of getting absorbed in the economy, you have lesser chances of getting a loan. It becomes more risky, which means that for the same, if you are a student with equal academic profile and you are going for a postgraduate diploma program and your friend is going for a master's program, having similar parental earnings and everything, you might be asked to put a security of higher value. You might be given a higher interest rate, and you might be asked to give a higher processing fee vis-a-vis your friend who you say is similar and to yourself, but the bank will treat you and him as a different student. Tanmay, is there any questions coming up? Can I, or how, or can you, or is there which can be addressed at the present moment?
At the moment, there are no questions that have come up, but for the students who are attending, if you have any questions, then you can unmute yourself and ask, or you could use the chat feature available where you could just post your questions freely here.
Correct. So either you can use a chat feature or else you can unmute and ask the questions at particular point.
Right.
Okay. The next, so once you have categorized in terms of the universities, what broad classification exists. The second we categorize in terms of courses, STEM, non-STEM, in terms of and the countries which they deal with. The third thing which comes into picture is the grade or the level of the program. Now, this is important wherein if you're looking at a master's program and you are looking to go abroad, there are higher chances for you to get an unsecured loan or a loan with lower credit or lower guarantees vis-a-vis a student who's looking at, say, a diploma or a bachelor's program. The financial, if I take you through the slide, it looks quite complex, but I can give you in terms of gist of it is that in terms of financial institutions, no matter what the grade of the course, SBI and BOB will offer you a secured loan, which means that they will require security against any kind of loan which they approve. In terms of Axis, ICICI, both of them have, at the master's level, they have unsecured, or they give unsecured loan up to, say, about 40 lakhs. And below that, at the bachelor level, they only give secured. Bajaj Finserv is another lender which only offers secured loans for education purpose. Most of the NBFCs, they would be giving an unsecured loan at the master's level for the STEM program rather than a non-STEM. And for the undergrad, they would request you for an immediate EMI with a secured loan option. Empower gives only masters; they do not give bachelors apart from the last 2 years of financing. The diploma, and they do not fund diploma at all. Prodigy is only is a master's focused program, wherein in case you're doing masters from a relevant university is when they give a loan. US banks generally, because they rely on the cosigner in the US, they are happy to give you a loan for any kind of course or grade of course which you go for. Are there any questions which you want to ask on this slide? Okay, so in case there are none, so we proceed in the next slide. Now, let's understand how secured or collateral loans are offered by various financial partners. So this slide is a subset of the last slide, wherein I clearly give it that if it's a degree-seeking program, that's when the universities or that's when the banks will offer you a secured loan. In case that it's not a degree-seeking program, they would have a list of universities or list of other criteria which they would enlist in case. So all of those who are looking at Canada as an option for the postgraduate diploma, it becomes slightly tough. They require more verification, more collateral in place to sanction the loan. The NBFCs are comfortable if you're looking at secured loan from their side. They are comfortable in giving you all sort of against any kind of courses, but they do charge higher rate of interest and do have a higher margin call on your property. Now, the second thing, which is if you're looking at unsecured loans. Now, how does the course or university vary with unsecured? So, most of the banks or all the financial providers will give you unsecured loan only at the master's level with a STEM or MBA focused. So, for example, if you are a brilliant arts or humanities student and you are looking to do political science or law for that matter in the US or in the UK or in Australia, there are very less chances that you will be eligible for a non-collateral loan. So this is one thing which you keep in mind when you are looking at in looking at the course. So courses do play a big part. In sometimes, for example, certain courses, say for my master's in marketing or master's in finance, MS in finance. Now, for a similar ranked university in the same country, in case it is a STEM designated program, the banks or the NBFCs will have a different viewpoint on the program and would be more willing to offer you an unsecured loan than a non-STEM designated course. So among your various admits, so if people are looking at masters in marketing, and among your various admits, if you are looking at ways to finance and your security is some sort of is either unavailable or you would not want to give your security currently, please have a look at the STEM designation of these programs. It's very important to have a look at that. The second thing about universities, now for unsecured or non-collateral option universities, the banks or the NBFCs are particular about the university. So each of them have a list. So ICICI, Axis, Empower, and Prodigy, all of them have a list of universities. And even in case in these universities, if you're going for particular designated courses, you are eligible for an unsecured program. So this information can be gotten from us, from any of our loan guidance counselors, and we can take it forward and help you with understanding requirements for unsecured loans, which can help facilitate your education. Now, any questions on how does the course or the university affect your chances on education loans?
So if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat feature, or you could unmute yourself and freely ask them.
Okay, Tanmay, how do you? Apologize. How do you look at the chat feature? I will have to shut my screen and look at the chat feature, right? Or you can give me the gift, or you can let me know if any questions are available.
Yeah, if there are, I'll update. At the moment, there are no questions posted.
Okay. Done. So we go on to the second agenda topic for the session, for the webinar, which is how does loan affect your visa chances and which loan sanction letter you can show for visa purpose. Now, let's understand from the visa perspective. On a broad scale, when you're looking at visa, all the countries or all the visa officers are looking at primarily two things. One, that you're a bona fide student, which means you're actually going in to study in the country of choice. And second is that you have the financial resources to study and complete your program. They are not looking at an opportunity. They are not looking at a point of view wherein I do not have the financial resources to complete your program. So how do you prove to the visa officer that you have the financial resources to complete your program? So either you can show your own funds, or you can show loan sanction letters from various financial players. This slide, the one which is the next slide, gives you a gist of the financial institutions who are approved by various countries, and these loan letters can work out for these countries. So, for example, among the banks, you would realize that banks are accepted everywhere, which means State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Axis, ICICI, etc. These sanction letters are accepted everywhere and can be used at the time of visa. In case of NBFCs, which is non-banking finance corporations, it's important that the US accepts the sanction letter at the time of visa. However, other countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and UK at sometimes as well, does not accept these sanctions. They have designated um, financial providers listed on their website. So you could request you to visit the Australia visa website and check which financial providers are listed and look at them in greater detail. Singapore and Germany also accept most of the financial providers, so that's no issue there. In terms of Empowers and Prodigies, now here the Empower only funds US and Canada, so both sides of town, that's the only two countries they fund. Prodigy does fund other countries, but their visa rate for Australia, for example, is unknown, and Australia High Commission will not accept a visa sanction letter from Prodigy, and chances of visa getting rejected are very high. The US banks obviously are basis for financial institutions. They give, and obviously the US is the only country that they would fund to if you are a student going to the US with a valid cosigner. It's at the moment, I would say that the US visa will accept that you have arranged your finances from US banks, but I would not recommend that loan letter for visa purpose. Hence, you put a no there rather than putting a yes, because it gives you high chances that the visa officer might correlate the same with a long-term stay-back view. Are there any questions on this slide? Okay, we proceed to the next slide. Now, that's the topic number 3. What are the loan options? Now, this is basically for the students who have to understand on a broad level, what are the loan options available and what do they depend on in terms of the whole gamut. So you would get confused with various people on the people who are contacting you, or people who are publicizing online, or various comments on all the various groups which get formed. So as far as we are concerned, I would rate them broadly into 4 different categories. So this is a very you can say a very holistic slide at the overall level, and you can look at this and understand and discuss with parents, and then come back which one they are looking at. So I would say the Indian banks, which means any of the Indian banks, SBI, Bank of Baroda, the nationalized banks are there. The NBFCs or the private Indian banks like the Axis or the ICICIs or HDFC Credila of the world. You have international financial institutions like Empower and Prodigy, and you have US banks like Sallie Mae, SunTrust, Citizens, Wells Fargo, etc. Now, the first basis you have to understand is what kind of security are you willing to offer for your loan. So in case you're looking, if you have a good, so the student profile is obviously the most important criteria in the education loan. It's the only retail loan wherein future earnings of the child are taken into consideration and the loan is sanctioned. So this makes it more complex than any other kind of retail loan in which historical salary data is taken into consideration and the loan is sanctioned to the prospective applicant. So that's the first thing, and that's required by all of them to be a valid student and the kind of university course and the level which you're going for. The second thing which is there is the collateral. Collateral is basically any kind of property or any kind of tangible security like gold or mutual funds or shares, or which can be assigned to the bank and against which you can take the loan. So that's the second thing which most of the financial institutions look at. And the third is the cosigner or guarantor. Now, in India, it would be mostly the parents. So a couple of things on the cosigner: what is their CIBIL score, what is their current earning, how long are they going to be earning, that means how far away are they from, say, retirement. These all factors play a role while selecting the security. So in case you have all 3, look at Indian banks. If you have 2, you look at NBFCs. If you have only student profile, look at international funds, I mean, these are the what they look at, and they decide whether they would want to go give you a loan or not. The second point of consideration which you look at is how convenient you want to sanction your loan. So if you're ready to do a big bit of legwork and go to the bank branches and have a certain extended paperwork, you look at Indian banks. NBFCs have shorter paperwork. They kind of they give you home service, wherein the collection and execution of the loan happens at your convenience in your house. The Empower and Prodigy all and US banks are all online processes. So they basically completely look at online functioning for you. So that's so in case if you have parents who are only available on weekends, or you are working and your parents are working, you should please have a look at which kind of loan suits you the best. The third thing which obviously matters is the loan amount. So in case of this, looks at secured, unsecured. This also looks at the cost of the collateral value. And the third aspect which sometimes get taken is the parental or cosigner earning. So based on these three factors, you have to understand what is your loan requirement and which is the most suitable financial provider to you. Based on these three criteria, everybody wants to get the most economical loan, which means the most cheapest loan with the lowest interest rate and the lowest processing fee. So when I categorize this into the broad range of things, the most economical loan you can get is for the US banks, provided you have a US or valid US cosigner. The second most competitive are the Indian nationalized banks, which give you at about 9% to 11%. The NBFCs are the third most competitive, which give you at 11 to 13. And the financial international Empower and Prodigies give you at 7.5 to 11. Now you have to understand that a US dollar vis-a-vis an Indian rupee rate, you can add about 5%, which is the annual depreciated rupee since for the last 20 years to the rate. So for example, if you're getting a 9% in US dollars, it actually is 9 plus 5, which means 14% in INR. So less maybe conversion chances. So it could be 4% is where you can look at that. So it could be 13%. So you have a look at that aspect while comparing interest rates across two currencies. Now, the second thing which obviously matters is the processing fee. Most of the nationalized banks have very minimal or 10,000 rupees processing, which is refundable. NBFCs have 1%. International funds have high amortized processing fee, so it's 3% and 5%, so you get a hit immediately. The US banks have a 1% plus GST, so that's where they are. So again, in this case, obviously the most cost competitive are the Indian banks, followed by US and henceforth. Another aspect which I want to touch about is the 80E tax benefit. In case you are a salaried person and are earning and are looking to avail the 80E tax benefit, what it effectively does is reduce your interest component by at least 2 to 3% point, because the 80E tax benefit is unlimited, and the interest paid on servicing the loan is actually tax deductible on your gross salary. So that's how it functions. This is, I guess, the most important and the basic slide for you to understand what are the options available and look at the best available option for yourself. Are there any questions on the slide? Hello? Hello?
In case you have any questions, there is a dialog box icon to the right. You can type in your questions there, or you could unmute yourself and directly ask your question. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So we proceed ahead with regard to okay. So that was basically the what Eduloans offers. This is a slide which gives about us. So we are a comparison platform. We have a dedicated loan guidance counselor who calls you up, makes you understand what is required, helps to negotiate the best rate of interest. In terms of stringent follow-ups, in terms of personalized attention to every student. And what we have achieved is that we have about 1,100 students on our platform. We have sanctions of 400 plus, number of dispersals to 50. We've reduced effective average loan taking time by 40%. All our students have availed the best option available to them. So it's not that they've been caught unawares on any kind of loan options. That's what we do. This is our various people on our platform. You would see that we currently have about 10 players, and out of them, SBI is the largest bank, the nationalized bank. BOB is the second largest now. ICICI Access are the first and the second largest private bank. So everybody is there on the system and you can choose or look at compare options for all these players. All the four NBFCs are there, which are education loan centric. We've actually missed out Bajaj in this, but Bajaj is available. They also offer loan against property for education purpose. You have Empower and Prodigy and various US banks. In case as you want to reach out to me, I'm available on email as well as on the phone number. The last one is mine. And any kind of queries, and I hope we are most happy to attend to. Okay. I guess we can wrap it up, but you can share with me the queries and thoughts. Tanmay, is there anything else which has to be done at the moment?
Nothing much. We can click on. So no, at the moment, no. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Sure. Thank you for being a patient. I hope this was value adding. So 45 minutes spent. Eduloans is a free platform, so please come on board, help yourself get the most appropriate and suitable education loan around. And in case you want our parents to chat with us, please go ahead and let us know, and we can take it forward from there. Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you, everybody, and see you on the platform soon.
Yeah, just a small note. Next week, we would be having another webinar session conducted by Bank of Baroda.
Yeah, and the bank, it will be conducted by either Bharat Chavda or Anand Subramaniam, who head the education loan department at Bank of Baroda, whereas they would be able to address all and any kind of queries which you have with regard to their education loan.
Right. So the links to those will be sent to you next week, as well as a reminder on SMS. So you would have all the links with you in case you decide to. So you would be able to log in using a laptop as well as your phone. So it's quite versatile, the platform.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and I'll stop sharing my screen now, and I'll take it forward from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.